The UK has raised its terrorism threat level to severe, meaning authorities consider an attack highly likely. This move comes after two Jewish men were injured in a stabbing attack in North London on Wednesday, you may remember. Officials formally declared that a terrorist incident. The attacker has now been charged with 2 counts of attempted murder in relation to that incident. In recent years, there's been a rise in reported anti-Semitic incidents in the UK. Last year, the Community Security Trust charity recorded 3,700 anti-Semitic incidents in the country, which is the second highest total the organization ever reported. For a closer look at the state of anti-Semitism in Britain, we're joined now by Keith Black. He's the chair of the Jewish Leadership Council and just happened to be in New York this week. Keith, good morning. Welcome. Great to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
So what is your reaction to the attack and how officials are responding to it?
Well, I'm horrified. We've seen 2.5 years of relentless increases of anti-Semitism across the entire UK. In fact, we had the largest spike of anti-Semitic incidents the day after October 7th, on October the 8th, before Israel had even gone anywhere near Gaza. It spiked through the roof. And since then, we've just been living under a completely unacceptable scenario.
Now, you have written an op-ed for a British media outlet, and you posed the question, when will Jews be safe in Britain? You mentioned that spike. There's this incident this week. How safe do you feel, and what can be done about what we've been discussing earlier, what you describe as a rise in extremism?
Yeah, well, no, we don't feel safe. I mean, 6 months ago in October, 2 Jews were attacked on Yom Kippur and murdered on our holiest day of the year. Over the last couple of months, 6 weeks, we've seen over half a dozen violent incidents against Jewish property, against our synagogues. There's a particular charity that has ambulances for sick and needy, not just Jewish people. They were firebombed and blown up. And then this week, 2 Jews walking down the street in a Jewish neighborhood, like Crown Heights, were stabbed. Fortunately, they weren't killed, but they easily could have been. And so we are calling upon the government to do everything they possibly can. They're putting more police in onto the streets to protect us in the short term. But long term, we have a terrible problem with, I'm afraid to say, Islamic fundamentalism and extremism in our country. It is allowed to spread like a wildfire, and there doesn't seem to be any control.
Now, Britain's Prime Minister has promised tougher measures to tackle anti-Semitism. What specifically does the Jewish community want? When you say tackling extremism, that can be a big and vast goal. What are some of the specific prescriptions you would make?
Okay. One of the things we really want to stop happening is these hate marches that we've seen through the City of London and in other regional towns, week after week, full of people calling hideous slogans about Jewish life. Things like globalize the Intifada, which we all know is a violent uprising. They call for this, and frankly, we're now seeing an Intifada. We want them to stop it. We want the full force of the law to come down on these people. A couple of weeks ago, after one of the synagogues was bombed, they found the culprits. They took the culprits in, they arrested them, and they let them out on bail. And for us, that's just not good enough. They have to be, we want the heavy hand of the state to come right down and raise the price of anti-Semitism in our country. It's too low at the moment.
And before we let you go, you've been in New York this week. There have been anti-Semitic attacks, not just here in the city, but across the country. What is the comparison, I guess, between the two cities and this type of violence?
I think one of the things we share in common is so much of this incitement comes from online. And online violence and the propagation of terror and hatred is a curse for all our societies. And we feel it very, very closely with our American friends.
Keith Black, great to have your insight on this Friday. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you.